kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make phyllo pastry. Now you can buy this in shops, but I know where I live it's not always readily available, and it's so easy to make and really tasty. So here we go. Start off with 1 egg. Into that I'm going to put yoghurt, natural yoghurt. Then we have some oil going in. This is just vegetable oil. And then we have milk. Now all I'm going to do is get this sort of mixed together a bit. Into that I'm going to put bread flour, a teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Finally, I have here a tablespoon of vinegar going in, and that's going to really help all of this come together. Now I'm using this big bowl so you can see what I'm doing, but it's also wicked for any sort of dough. So all we're going to do is start mixing that together, and we need to bring this together as a dough. Once this has come together, you're just going to knead it. The vinegar in this recipe will bring this together beautifully. Once you've got this all together, we're going to transfer it to a floured surface. Make sure I've got all of it. We're going to knead this now for about 5 minutes until we get a really nice, soft but firm dough. We've now got a really beautiful dough going on here. Now all I'm going to do is I've put a little bit of flour in my bowl, and I'm going to poke that back in. I'm going to cover it with a little bit of oil, cover it with some plastic. There we go. So we're now going to rest this for an hour. I'll see you when that's rested. Well, our dough is rested beautifully now. I'll show you that in a second. There's a little bit of preparation to do here. So in here I have around 200 grams of corn flour or cornstarch, depending on where you come from. Into that I'm going to put just a couple of tablespoons of all-purpose flour. All I'm going to do is mix this up. So just give that a little bit of a stir. I have my greaseproof paper ready, and I've also got, you can use cling film, but I'm using plastic bags that I've cut out and opened up, because we need to keep our dough from drying out as we work. Here we go, we're going to get going now. The light does turn a flour, and we take our dough, which you can see has really stretched beautifully here. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a knead, and then I'm going to break this up into 40-gram balls. There we go. And then all I'm going to do is roll these and then give them a little pat and put on my plate. So I'll crack on and get this done. You should end up with a big plate full of pieces. So I've shaped all of my dough here, and I've ended up with 20 plus 1 that's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to pop that to one side. First thing we're going to do is put corn flour onto our side, and I'm going to take 4 of these and pop here. And I'm going to cover all of those with some of my flour. We're going to push them out. As you can see, this dough's become really nice and pliable. And then we're going to roll these to about the size of a tea plate. I want mine a little bit more oblong for the recipe that I'm going to be using, but you can do these round if you prefer. I want to keep mine in that sort of oblong shape if I can. So here we go, there's one. Now I'm going to pop that just there, and then I'm going to sprinkle it with my mix here. Next one. Now I want to get it round about the same size as this one, because we're going to layer these one on top of the other. You can actually make this dough with just flour, water and salt, but it's not very flavourful, and I've got to tell you, this is delicious. It makes really nice, crispy phyllo. Now, what we're going to do is lay that one on top. Doesn't matter if it doesn't quite fit, because that will help us later on. I'm going to dust that generously with my flour. Next, so we can do a stack of 4. There we go. That's our stack of 4. There. Now you can see I'm keeping this covered. I'm going to take my next 4 out. And I'm going to lay my stack onto the plate. And then I'm going to cover it immediately. Right, I'm going to carry on and do my stacks, and then we'll move on. So, I've ended up with 5 piles of 4. So, I'm going to start with my first pile of dough. And starting from the middle, I'm going to work outwards like this. Middle, outwards. And we're going to make this, if you need to move it, use one of these. It's much easier. And just make sure you're not sticking on the bottom. We're going to make this double the size it was when we started out. So we're now going for sort of dinner plate size. Don't use too much pressure on this. Now when you get it quite big like this, as you rub the flour, you'll be able to see the layers. So we're going to pull one down, and we're going to roll that back, and we're going to make sure we've got plenty of corn flour on that. And then we're going to put it back, and we're going to do this with all of the layers. Just check as you go that you have enough flour. Got to pull that way a bit. There we go. You can move these about as you go, it's not an issue. Next layer, I'm just putting it over my rolling pin and making sure I've got enough on here. We're going to brush this at the end, so don't worry too much. Then we're going to put it back, and we're going to go for the next layer. It's just an easier way to do it like this than it is to just keep picking it up. You can just see them, and what you don't want is for it all sticking together. And we go again. You can hear it squeaking, can't you? There we go. So, what I want to do is get myself some roast beef paper ready. You can see the first edge there. Look at this. Look how fine that is. Beautiful. Now you need to do this carefully because it will break, which is why I'm using my rolling pin. Look at this. Wonderful. look, you can see the writing through that. That is beautiful and fine. So I'm going to lay that out on my paper and just straighten it up a bit. I'm going to take the next layer. Oh, make sure I don't stick my fingers through it because I do that a lot. There we are. There's our next layer. Off. And again, look how beautiful and fine that is. And I'm going to lay that on top of that one. Beautiful. So there's 2 sheets of phyllo already. How easy is this? Look for your best edge to pull. Oh look, that's it there. That's my best edge to pull. And you'll see what I mean when if you try this out, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about with your best edge, because you can see it quite plainly. Lay it on top. Beautiful. Well, I've finished rolling my phyllo, and as you can see, they are looking really good. Look at that, so fine. They're great. Really pleased. Now, I don't want to use these today, so I'm going to store them. I'd already laid my phyllo onto some greaseproof paper, and I'm going to cover the top of that with another sheet of greaseproof paper. Now, I've done stacks of 8, and this is my very last stack of 4 here. So all I need to do to store this is very gently roll this up, and ideally wrap it in cling film. As you know, I don't do cling film very well, so I tend to put mine in foil if I'm storing it, because I find that a lot easier to deal with. So just make sure you've completely sealed your dough in this or in your plastic. Now I can either leave this in the fridge for a few days, 2 or 3 days, it will keep wonderfully, or, which is what I do, is I make a big lot, I wrap it all up and I freeze it. Now if you're going to freeze it, just make sure it's all sealed up properly. I'll double wrap these in foil, and then I'll place them in the freezer. When I want to use them, I'll take them out the night before I'm going to use them, and I'll put them in the fridge in their wrappers, and they'll be ready the next day to use. Well, I hope you liked my video today. If you did, please like, share and subscribe to see me making more delicious, cost-effective food. Thank you for watching.